said this. And it just seems from our point of view, as we argued with you last time and finally you agreed to, you know, it's fiscally responsible to do it.
You're saying there's been no impact created by not allowing people to work overtime?
None. I think that's what the stats would show if we could pull them if we needed to. Your members know if a supervisor came to somebody and said, I'm not authorizing overtime, I'm gonna do your work for you, tell us about that. Give us a concrete example of it, we'll look into that instance and determine whether or not it's been improperly used. As you know, our argument was it would be temporary, it's temporarily performed tasks, it says it right in it. Just understand your issue, the concept, but I don't think that it's been a negative application here. Give us an example, we'll look into it if there is one.
What doesn't happen all the time, we have buses that have to go down to Tampa, and supervisors drive them down to Tampa, but it's very rare.
Well, that's a bus that's out of service in the
Yeah.
county, right?
Mhm.
That's a different situation.
Yeah, it's just.
Why is that a different situation?
Because the task that is assigned to the bus drivers here is to run the routes in Pasco County. It's
You
not to
guys
take
ever
a bus
run a
that's
bus-
out of service or needs service somewhere.
Do
That's
you
not,
ever
that's not
do
their
now
task.
having you driving at all? You know, where you're driving the bus somewhere?
Yeah, we're gonna do that Monday, and we use the buses to bring people to cruise lines.
Yeah.
Well,
Those are the buses. I was
2000.
wondering where they were getting the buses.
And we're gonna use a bus in the Christmas parade.
That's all in Pasco County.
Yeah.
That's all service in Pasco. You know, the situation you just talked about, if I understand, is this is a bus that needed to be serviced or taken somewhere for some
Had to
reason
be
like that.
serviced out of county.
that's usually like a mechanic thing to do anyway, isn't it? I thought it was, but, all right, we'll
Okay.
consider your,
I mean, that's the only example I can give you.
Okay, let's see, so next year, 16, 17, 18, Article 18, did I miss one, or no? No, okay, so 16 and 17 I covered together again, the union rate pool, so we can talk about that, if you guys can think about that one. Article 18, we would be willing to go to 60 days, and any time that the employee missed. So maybe that's a little bit of movement, and that would be, we still agree with the extension, and I think I've sort of articulated why we feel that's really good for the employee. I understand your position, so we'll move to 60 days, plus any time that the employee was out. So if we allowed an employee to go out for 4 weeks, for surgery or something, then, we just tack that to in addition to the 60.
and that doesn't say that anymore, right?
No, I don't think so, so that would be new language. I'll have to check the code service manual, because I don't know if it says it in there, but.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, if it was in the contract, obviously it would supersede it. Oops. Oh, again, Article 19, I think would be, yeah, the union leave account, okay, so that's, was that our proposal, or? Okay, so again, we covered that as part of union leave. So it wouldn't be without pay.
It's rejecting the union's proposal.
Is it, okay?
So, what was that? What?
So just so it's clear what we would do here, if there's time in the union leave account, you could draw down that time to send people to the bargaining table. So they would be paid from that account. Currently, they're unpaid. Unpaid by the county.
Is 20 open?
Well, the only thing on that subject, and most of the time, people who attend contract negotiations on the negotiating committee are still as that's just not a rule.
Okay.
So,
either one for us, I mean, it doesn't.
We
it's
just
your-
characterize it 6 employees designated by the union.
Yeah, whoever.
Right, but the union leave account only applies to stewards. I'm just saying, if that's the route we go,
Well, I'm suggesting we would add language to this that says, up to 6 employees designated by the union shall be granted excused leave and be paid from the union leave account.
Right, so unless it's something internal that you need to address, we're fine with it not applying to stewards, and also applying to your bargaining.
I'm just, and again, I'm not agreeing or.
Right, I know,
denying.
I
I'm just noticing that the union leave account is for the purpose of allowing union stewards. to
Yeah.
perform. So that would have to be.
This clause would have, well, I've
Yeah,
already written
19's
the
in
clause.
addition, yeah, 19's in
It's
addition.
under stewards or under
Under the
negotiations?
contract negotiation.
I know, but you'd have to change the union leave account. So, because of.
Oh, okay, yeah, if we need to, we'll tweak that.
Would that be counted as time worked?
Yep.
Yes. You would send it for us to get this done faster for you, right?
And believe me, we'd like to get it done fast,
Yeah,
but you just can't whip it through.
There you go. All right, we've already spoken about seniority and our thoughts, and we will come up with language, so we won't talk about that any further here, because we already addressed the safety committee, we addressed the department safety, and so that, I think we can TA if we just clean up the language a little bit, to reflect what it actually is, the departments. The health insurance, we have already, I've already given you the county's position. Again, $150 is absolutely being, paid by the state, by the way, for the purpose. You know, and to be honest with you, and I don't know, but there may actually even be a law that kind of speaks to that, and I'm not 100% sure if you can use it. Can you use it for, I guess, I don't know, the health supplement? It has a tax consequence. No, I'm not gonna pretend to know if I don't know off the top
Well,
of my
the
head.
Florida retirement system says in order to collect your health insurance subsidy, you have to submit a form to FRS, and you have to state that you have to provide your ID card for your health insurance plan or something to substantiate that you are paying premiums on your plan.
Yeah, so I don't even know if that would even, I seem to recall something like that, but I don't know, so, and I never look into the law, but I.
That's, is that like a 1099 event or something, I mean, you're getting, it's considered compensation?
It might be, because if it's a tax-free benefit and it wasn't, given for, then there'd be a tax consequence and perhaps a penalty, you know. But, so in any case, we're definite about our position on the 150 is very reasonable.
What article was that again?
It was
24.
24. I see we have lost it, but that's okay. Okay. 26, I think we already addressed that there wasn't any changes to it. Unless you guys had found something during your.
There's still
convers-
something about JJ, and I don't really know why.
Yeah. So, why don't we leave it open, and then if you guys think about what it is in the meantime.
Yeah, I think we made it.
My note says county rejected union payout, so, if we have a payout now,
Yeah, you were proposing that option to turn it into annual leave.
You know what, are you sure it was
Oh.
JJ, maybe it was AA?
Wasn't that the one where we wanted to
that's not
convert?
nice.
That was the that was the proposal that I wanted to buy back the
Instead of buying back.
48.75, you can change it to vacation time, or keep
Instead of
some
buying
of it,
that,
or whatever.
Yeah, to
Convert
convert
it
it
to one for
Yeah.
one
So,
vacation.
it wasn't a written proposal, it was just verbally communicated about.
And Jim stated that over the long time down the road, it would cost you more money if you
It could
did
have
that.
a monetary implication,
But what if we were to do that, but had to use it in the same calendar year? That way there, when it's not extending it down the road. You know what I'm saying, Jim? I mean, rather than take the 48.75 as cash value, if you wanted to take half of it as cash value and convert 3 days to vacation time, but if you had to use it in the same calendar year,
Well,
you wouldn't be, tacking it on.
I see your point, but the issue is, the reality is that would be 3 less days of vacation you would use, and it would have the same cumulative effect for the hourly rate, because it would, obviously, 3 days that you, even if we set up a different pool for it, right?
Yeah.
You'd still be using that in lieu of annual leave, which would then, of course, carry over, so it would have the same effect for us. So, I mean, this, again, I wanna just tell you from where I've been, this is a very good benefit, even the ability to, to convert it.
Well, we know it's a good benefit, but I think I remember Jim saying last time that the annual leave may have a higher value 4 years from now or 5 years from now than it would today.
Yeah, of course, it's because your hourly rates are going.
Because of the buyback time, you'd have to buy back the annual part at the full rate of pay, where the sick leave portion is only a quarter
Right, that's
down the
right.
road.
So
And that's where it was gonna cost you more money.
Oh, yeah, that's true, but
That-
I
that's-
would assume that you would convert it at a quarter also, not just, but you were talking about even converting it hour for hour.
Well-
Obviously, that would be more expensive.
Just for, because some of these people just would like more vacation time,
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're discussing something where there's no formal proposal on it,
Yeah.
pretty far into the bargaining process. If you want to pursue something on JJ, give us a written proposal on it.
So it's still open for now.
We're not encouraging you to do that.
Yeah.
Come on, Jim.
Well, let me ask this, are you at least open-minded to it, or is it just proposal is just to keep it the way it is?
Our proposal is to leave it the way it is. If you want to write something up for next time, I could write out something right now rejecting it.
Well, that's good.
And he's brutal, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, like I said, it is a very good benefit, and.
No, it is.
Well, people like it,
I like it.
don't get it wrong, it just,
I know.
they wanted to build on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't trying to get more money out of it, but we understand it does have a fiscal impact. All right, so what's next?
Okay, so next would be, we go to 34, again, I mentioned that I'll have you something in writing on that, and I'll just simply, mention it'll leave the status quo in terms of the days, and just add the provision on the 80%, that's it. Leave time excluded, again, if you guys are okay with it, we'll put holiday leave back in. I know we have to amend the holiday policy, which we're gonna take with us and try it again. But in the meantime, we will count that, we'll leave that as in there. And then we would ask that you agree to planned annual leave versus all, so unplanned should not be. So that's up to you guys too.
Well, I guess we need to really take a look at the holiday pay then, because if the proposal that you gave earlier still stands, then we have a problem, because like Jim said, I'll just give you a rejection letter now. We're not interested in going backwards.
Okay.
So, I'll just wait till we get the holidays.
Okay,
Unless
yeah,
we're
no,
already on.
this wouldn't have an impact, we would leave holiday leave in this sentence, which would therefore make it count. So, I understand you're wanting to pair them, and so that's fine.
Well, I thought that you are,
Yeah.
or is it just standalone holiday leave is in there, as it always is, without even
Right.
having the holiday, the only thing you're adding is the plan.
Right, exactly, that's all.
I think that we'd be more inclined to entertain accepting plans if the holiday language was where it needs to be. But if you're challenging, if you're still moving forward with your proposal on holiday, I know we're certainly never gonna agree to having a plan on top of that.
Okay,
So
Fair
that's the reason we are, I guess, put on that.
okay, that's fine, we'll wait till next time when we come back on the holiday. The next one would be 39, again, you know where I'm at with that, I'm gonna give you additional language. I think I'll adopt some of the language that you have in there that you took from the Hernando contract. Tweak others, reject some maybe, but I'll give you something in writing for next meeting. Same thing, well, demotion we haven't actually talked about, but I understand that when I read, your part on, the, moving, what did you call that again?
Displacement.
Displacement, thank you, Ken. That it might impact, so I'll read that and, see how it pertains to it, but to nothing now.
I really, like I said, last time, I don't even think the motion is going to necessarily need to be changed. But
Okay, yeah, I probably agree with you, but I haven't read the two of them side by side, so I don't know the impact, so I don't even, I can't. As I mentioned on 43, we will likely agree to that. We won't see it now because I do want to check and see if there's any dramatic impact at the department level. I don't anticipate one, but I just want to make sure there's not, so because I don't know. But I don't anticipate that being a problem, accepting your language. '46, oh, okay. Where we were at on 46 is that you guys were okay with it. Of course, what you articulated was that if it became an issue with wages, because it became more a part of your wage plan, then you would have an issue. But right now, we'll just leave it because and leave it maybe as an opener, when we adopt a performance-based wage plan. Okay, so right now, that'll be just a TA with a ability to open, it looks like, so we'll have to just make some language to open that. 47, we've addressed, and we know G is in there, but we're gonna do some more work on the bus people.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll wait for you to, yep, okay, cool. Randy's taking care of the bus people.
so I changed my.
No, I was
Oh.
just checking up. I was feeling okay.
Oh.
I just wondered if you're
Okay.
feeling it.
Yeah, I'm good, I'm okay.
So I'm gonna change my notes.
Thank you.
Let's say Randy said the department will work something out for Barbara.
Barbara, no, it's
Just give me
Barbara
the list
said,
of
Randy
notes.
said. Barbara said that, she agrees, Randy said.
I just wanted somebody said, I'm happy.
Somebody said it, I'm sorry. I gotta get out and meet the bus people, then, there you go. There's a lot of people I need to meet. All right, libraries, I know, I met the big three library,
Yeah.
the team, library.
Kevin and Nancy and
Yes,
Sean.
yes, they were all very, very nice. All right, so again, 49, we're going to, I'm gonna give you something on that, so not at this point. At 52, I'm gonna give you something on that, so nothing at this point. 53, I'm going to work the numbers and see where that falls. I understand you're not accepting it the way that it probably will fall out, especially if it's, but at least it'll give us a starting point. It'll talk about what you might want to, if you wanted to do some combination or something. I mean, I have seen something like where it's a % plus X or something like that. I mean, but again, we can be creative and we can see what happens. We do have a budget. We'll look and see, and every penny that's available we'll certainly use, but, all right, let's see. And, well, again, 56, we just said that, we'll see. Oh, I do apologize because I missed, of course, the big one, 21 with seniority, so if we can go back there, and I'm glad I left until the end
I
because.
thought you said that you were just going to,
Well, yes and no. What I want to do is split it out into the different articles, but because we don't have an article related to, okay. So the seniority article will actually have some of the components in there, but one of the things that we spoke about and are interested in doing, and I think it's in furtherance of what you're interested in, is, as I mentioned, there's so many different issues with seniority. Some of the departments you said are already doing it correctly. In utilities, I think you mentioned that there's a good system in place. Maybe there's not in parks, maybe there is somewhere. We don't know that, and we're not gonna solve that in, quite frankly, the time that I think you wanna get this contract done. But what if we agree to a committee dedicated to actually seniority? So if we said, look, we'll put perhaps myself and Kevin from HR, and then somebody from probably a person from the Teamsters, that would be a constant, and then the other members of the committee would rotate based on the department that we were looking at. So if we went to utilities, it might be the utilities member of the bargaining team or whoever you decide to designate, and then we could look at each department. And if we could create a committee that could look at the impact that because like you said, sometimes it's not gonna make sense if it's, And sometimes it'll be a localized, with the parks, maybe it's, if you're here. We don't know what all the impacts are, but we're certainly willing to look at it. And then, so if we can maybe in this contract say, look, we agree to come up with a committee that's gonna look at this, and they'll meet at least quarterly or monthly or whatever. And then for the contract, the next contract, we can maybe incorporate some of those, things, so.
The only problem with that is it's just not gonna work. As far as who sits on the county side, that's totally within your control. If
Right.
you wanna have a committee, 18 people, 25 people, or 3 people, or 1, it makes no difference to me.
Right.
I wanna meet with somebody. The way we've been successful is meeting with the department director or their designee,
Mhm.
but if the HR, and we don't even use the HR person,
Yeah,
for whatever reason, I don't care who we meet with. The only thing that seems to make sense that whoever's signing the bottom of the page probably knows more about the operations of that department,
right,
because
yeah,
it's more relevant to them. But again, if you and your authority want to take that power from them, that's your business, not of my own.
oh, no, I'm sorry, maybe I misspoke, I meant to include them, what I'm saying is that the HR person, or persons, it could be myself and Kevin, would go out, and then the revolving members of the committee would be the department person, so the department head or the division head, whoever's the most relevant person, plus a union member from that department, so it would be in conjunction with.
But to finish though, I'm just not a big fan of committees that just get together to discuss things, and there's no, I don't wanna say no teeth or anything, but there's no backdrop.
Yeah,
Like I said, the reason this has worked in other places is because the backdrop is, listen, if we don't work something out, then we're kind of gonna be using departmental seniority, which may not be in the county's most desired interest.
yeah,
But that's kind of the juice that keeps the committee getting something done.
right,
As opposed to just, let's meet once a month and talk about things, and because I've been a part of too many of those sort of committees that just really don't accomplish much of anything. I give a case in point, at the hospital, Bay Point, we have a nurse staffing committee,
Mhm.
and it's true, we talk about nurse staffing all the time, and it just becomes this nauseating waste of time.
yeah,
And so, that's the reason we kind of have to have some sort of solid plan of action if the committee doesn't bear fruit.
yeah,
So, again, having a regular meeting committee, I'm all for. You want to have certain people involved. It's always going to be at least me and the union steward that's from that department. That's guaranteed. I'm not going to sign anything without the
Yeah,
steward
yeah, sure.
present. And so, you can get that from our end, but, so it's kind of along the lines of what you're proposing. It's just that,
It just doesn't include HR.
no, I don't.
Oh, I don't
have a
even-
problem with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Not really, right?
It's not
That's
the
not the way
HR
you're
part.
doing it elsewhere. HR is not part of it, where you're doing it.
But I said, I find that kind of peculiar.
Yeah.
I don't, that's not my decision. I just think that's, unusual. I think that HR would be involved, and to be quite honest, to tell you the truth, I'd rather have HR there.
Yeah.
If there's a choice in the matter.
yeah,
That's not the missing component. The missing component in your counter proposal is that you're acknowledging that if we don't make some changes with the committee, that departmental seniority will prevail. Okay, that's, like I said, that's kind of what we have to have, because then I know at least things are gonna get fixed on our end, where we have something to kind of hold on to,
Yeah.
instead of just kicking the can for another year, and then just, and again, I'm not trying to
I know,
be demeaning at all, it's just, I'm just not having much luck with committee. And the reason I know that, because like I said earlier, your department directors and their staff that's beneath them probably want nothing to do with this.
Mhm.
If they wanted something to do with this, if they were open-minded to this, we probably would already have the language in the contract. But been at this for about 5 years now, from start to finish, not necessarily bargaining all that time.
right,
But we still don't have what we need to be considered fair on our side.
right,
And so, with that being said, just keep in mind, and this is really kind of a line in the sand, this article
Yeah.
really is kind of drawing a line in the sand as far as how much cooperation, we're gonna get on wrapping this whole thing up. Because I got marching orders. This is not the John Schultes proposal, it's not.
right, I know,
This committee is telling me, John, it's not about the money, and, of course, the money's important,
right,
but, it's not as important as getting the issues that are going on.
Yeah.
fixed.
Well, I mean, then we may have to just start having, and that's what I mean, my thought in setting up the committee was to move the contract along. You know, I'd hate to do just a one-year deal, you know, over and over. You know, my concern with saying, okay, well, we'll hold the whole contract up then until we can go out and meet with every department. I mean, you know what kind of process that is, and I don't think it's fair to
That's not
ask
what
the
we're proposing,
employees.
though, you know that.
I understand what you're proposing, and of course, like I've mentioned, we're not comfortable just saying, yeah, okay, you know, department seniority blindly. I don't know, I mean, quite frankly, I just don't know enough about this organization. What I know about every organization that I've worked for is that if I just said, hey, everything's by seniority now, I'd probably be hung. You know, so I can't do that, but, you know, we can't do that, without knowing what we're getting into, without knowing the implication, how it's gonna impact every department.
I know you're new,
Mhm.
but these other, you know, committee members aren't. And so it's not, I know we got some, you know, Randy's relatively new, and Kevin's been on a while, but this is not something that we just came out of the gate with today to spring on, you know, the county. So, I mean, there has to have been some pretty significant consideration over the last few years about this. And I know it's not fair to you to expect you to digest all that in a week, but, you know, at the same time, just simply saying that, okay, the union is wanting seniority, they've been fighting for seniority, and if there has to be a hold period of, say, a few months or whatever time it needs to be to get, our meetings as, with the committee to set up and flush out the seniority issues, because, you know, there's just gonna be no motivation in our society. So, you know, I know we agreed to commit to have a committee meeting once a month, but you know, this month I'm kind of booked, so let's do it next month. There's nothing pushing it.
Right.
You know, so if you know that, you know, listen, the clock's ticking with the union, because if we don't get our committee and our departments lined up, and I'm not even saying that every single department even has to do this, because there's quite a few departments and other places that we've never met. Like, I'll give you an example, library services, for whatever
Right.
reason, and I know it's new in Citrus, but it's not new in Hernando. There's never a problem in library services regarding seniority. There's plenty of departments in Hernando County, but the only ones that have bubbled up to where we isolated agreements were solid waste at the landfill, utilities, road, what we call DPW, which has, you know, several different, you know, branches underneath there. And so, it's not like it's just monumental tasks that has to get done in a very brief period of time either, so.
Well, so then perhaps what would make more sense then is to come up with specific solutions for each department, and then let us bring those to the departments and say, does this work for you? Because right now a blanket doesn't work. Like you said, some places it's not, in some places, I could actually see us putting something in place that actually makes it worse than it already is. If they're already doing it successfully, say in utilities, then we throw something out and they go, whoa, 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 you know, you just ruined it for us. So I don't wanna do that, but maybe.
It's not a blanket, it's not a cookie cutter.
Okay, well, maybe, I don't,
This whole concept is to avoid having that.
yeah,
And so the last thing I wanna do is say, utilities, this is what we got in mind for you. That's not, I wanna sit down in a group setting, I do wanna sit down with whomever in that department is the one who makes decisions, and the steward who's there. And I want that steward to tell me and to tell us, listen, we've been doing things in a rotating wheel here for this particular application. We don't need seniority. That's the way we're gonna have it. That's the way it's gonna be, you know?
Yeah.
And we write it down. And not to say that those agreements can't be tweaked whenever needed,
right.
you know? So I don't want you getting, you know, feeling like it's an overwhelming task, because it's really not.
That's what I mean, maybe if perhaps we know where it's not broken, I mean, for lack of a better term, right? Where it's not broken, where we don't need to go, I mean, that would help, you know. So, I mean, perhaps if you could address, if there are 3 areas that you think are problem areas, maybe we could address those, you know, first, and you know, because what I don't want to do is say, okay, we'll do it as a blanket, which is what it is right now, written in the contract, and then have to then go out, you know, I'm just trying to figure out a way that we can, you know, kind of bring the contract to a close without leaving this one article that I do see is gonna require a lot of work to hold up the whole rest of the contract.
Right, we don't wanna do that either. I'll just give an example. In transit, there's nothing but to capture the current practice in Oregon.
Right,
It's done,
exactly.
okay?
Okay,
So, and some of the other departments, you know, it's just a matter, I mean, I can't see it honestly being more than a day of meeting, let's talk about fleet, okay? A day of meeting, I don't know, you know, in fleet, there may not even be too much of an issue of seniority, and if there is, you know, it's going to apply to certain things, and if the jobs come in and the jobs have to be taken when you're available, then there's not picking work orders. But if 6 work orders are put out in one day, then maybe there will be. And so,
so what you need is a department SOP for seniority in each department, and then you want to know what those are, and it sounds like you want to agree upon them and understand this.
it's not even that intense. It's just, you know, the subjects that are in our proposal are job assignments,
Job assignment, yeah, that, I mean, again, the separating
shift
out.
selection, and
just-
overtime. If
yeah.
everybody works on one shift, it's a sentence. At any time in the future, there's more than one shift to select from, employees shall be able to select those shifts in seniority order, provided they can perform the work. And we're never gonna ever be in a situation where we're trying to handcuff the county, where you got people who can't do a job in a position. Never. Okay, so that's a one-liner for shift selection that'll probably apply to most departments.
So maybe we can, I mean, then if it's that easy, maybe we can just take that, you know, on a spreadsheet, fleet, this is the one-liner, let me go, give it to the fleet director, say, hey, does this work? And he says, no,
What
but
happens
you
when
add
the fleet
this.
director says, I don't wanna do it that way, I just don't want to? What happens then?
Well, you said if for some reason it wasn't going to work out that way in fleets, then they'd have to, I mean, I would expect them to articulate some reason that they feel it won't work. But like you said, that maybe there's something else that can work. I mean, if they flat out say we're not gonna do it,
There has to be a willingness, okay, a willingness from, a commitment, I guess, probably from you, okay, to say that, listen, this is what the union has been fighting for years and years and years, this is what they want, they have assured us they're going to be fair, they're not going to be grievance happy, but the thing is to simply go up and say it's not gonna work in my department just doesn't cut it. That has to come from the county to the directors and say, so we need to work something out. This is going to be a culture change, it's going to be in some departments, and maybe some other ones not so much. But, you know, there has to be both parties trying to row the boat here in the same direction, you know, to make it happen. And that's what we're hoping, you know, that we can get that commitment, because we couldn't get it from the last person in their position.
can I just ask, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for you. So there are certainly contracts that we could look at that have, that honor seniority in terms of shift selection. But a lot of those contracts also have a management override to that, when there's an appropriate reason for overriding seniority. You know, sometimes to find the proper balance of experienced and inexperienced people on a shift, whatever the case may be. You're amenable to that type of additional safeguard
As long as
language
it's
for management?
legitimate, you know, and as an example, and I know what you're talking about, and let's just say, at a landfill, you have equipment operators where you have to have someone who's experienced on that shift. And if you got 3 shifts, you have to have at least one person. So then they develop what's called a lead person, or if the employer doesn't want to develop a lead person, where it's not only unfair, but it's unsafe to not have a senior person, you know, in certain key areas. And I get that, but it has to be a legitimate, you know, legitimate reasoning behind it, and not just because.
Well, legitimate for us always starts with managerial discretion,
Right.
okay? I don't think it ends there with you, though.
Legitimate with us means because probably it's safety related, you know, because managerial discretion means no seniority at all, if exercised to its fullest, because, you know, managerial discretion means no contract at all. I want to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do. That's true, pure, unrestricted managerial discretion. So this does take some control, but if it's a reason like I described, like, hey, I have to have someone who knows what they're doing on the shift. I can't have, you know, 6 people who got, you know, 6 months on average seniority, because no one knows what to do. So we gotta have a key guy, you know. So, you know, those type of things are exactly what we need, that we can work out when we have these individual
So
departmental.
in that circumstance, when that's articulated by management, that's the end of it, right? The union will honor that
Whatever's in
exercise
writing,
of
if it's my
discretion.
signature on the bottom, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what I mean, so we need some sort of, like I said, well, I like maybe the concept of an SOP, and we'll just say we agree to abide by the SOPs in the departments, and it might say that, I mean, most of them, let me kind of do some research on it too. Again, I know where, that would be in the seniority article, that's the only, or at least a separate article that says, no, I'd probably put job assignments, just leave that right in the seniority. Again, open bargaining positions, already said, promotions.
Hang on one second before you go,
Yeah.
I provided some of the agreements we've had with them, I don't know if you received them or not.
No, but I can get them.
Okay, I think I did with Kevin, and not that it's need to get them right now, but, so you can take a look
Okay,
and see what would come up in other places,
yeah.
So, okay.
Just one more quick question on your language, which is overtime based upon seniority. But if this is worked out on a department by department basis, there could be deviation in that concept, right?
It all depends on the type of work. First of all, it may not even be what the guys want overtime. This is to talk about how overtime is going to be relevant to seniority. And what we work out is that there is no relevance between overtime and seniority in a specific department. Other departments may have, when possible, if you have 4 different people in different places, and one comes back and there's a job assignment that has to be done right then and there, that may carry them over into an overtime situation, and the other people are still working, it's all common sense. How can you hold it up for the senior person when they're currently working somewhere? There's nothing that you can come up with that hasn't been thought out at some point in time. And common sense and practical solutions is what I'm interested in.
Well, my recollection is that we at one time discussed an overtime wheel, and you were not supportive of that concept. That overtime, from your point of view, meant that, let's just say, by way of example, that has the most seniority. Every time an opportunity was available, and he was available, he got to choose first.
If that's the way that group wants to do it, okay? We have probably mixed, and I know in Citrus County, my stewards were absolutely mixed, where the facilities department there loved rotating. They thought it was the fair, and same with utilities. They rotate because that's what they want to do, and they have that mindset because of the type of work they do and the type of workers they are. That particular group, the way they work together, that's the way they want to do it. We have other groups of workers that don't feel that way, and that, hey man, it took me 15 years to get where I'm at, and I never ever one iota of an opportunity, and now all of a sudden I got to give up the opportunity to give up the gravy. That might be good for them. So it's so localized, which is, again, the beauty of the proposal is that we can work in those little pockets of the county. And again, it's not like every single pocket of the county is even going to invoke this language.
Right. But in your opinion, who determines, when you say they want, who is they in that? I mean, is it the group of employees, or is it the managers in that division?
I rely upon the stewards to tell me what the workers, our members,
Yeah.
are interested in.
What if management feels it's better to have a rotating because they get a better, I mean, is that, because that would be relevant to us, obviously, they have a reason for it and it's a good business reason, or whatever. I mean, quite frankly, if they say, no, I want the overtime equally distributed, that's why I do it in a revolving wheel, and all of the union people are saying, no, we want it only based on seniority, how do we resolve that issue?
Well, then, it defaults, okay, we got a deadlock, we can't agree, it defaults to departmental seniority. Because we have to have we have to have the concept of seniority as a foundation.
So then in that view, then, the senior guy would always have the first shot,
If
is that
that's
what you
what the
mean?
workers in our particular group, based upon the recommendations of the steward, that's what they want, and that's what they're telling me the tempo is of the union members. I don't represent non-members. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't. So, if that's what they want, then that's the way it would end up being. And if we, again, didn't reach an agreement, that would probably be unfortunate, because we want to work together. Now, when a steward tells me that, listen, we've always had rotating here, I personally think it should be top-down, but you know what? Most of the guys here, I polled them, and this is what they want. They want to continue doing a rotating. then we'll do rotating. I kind of rely upon the negotiating committee and the stewards to steer.
And understand for us, there's a huge financial component to seniority base. Seniority is those guys make more hourly. I mean, so you would kill the overtime budget if every time we had to issue overtime, it went to the senior person, because that overtime rate would potentially be 30%, 40% higher than, so we could literally burn through an overtime budget by doing that.
I
Yeah,
think
but
you
the,
have more
the
people that-
experienced guy will get it done quicker.
Well, that's not necessarily always the case.
Yeah.
But it's also
Hang
prescription.
on, let me address that, though. I think you probably have more issues with people not wanting to work overtime in this place than you do that have. So, I mean, so you're probably gonna end up saving money.
Yeah, a lot of your senior guys would get the, would be offered, but a lot of times they would prefer to whoever was next in line. So if I'm not mistaken, the Vector trucks out east, if I'm not mistaken, that's how they were saying, I believe overtime and call is by seniority, but it's always, it gets, everybody ends up seeming to be really happy with it. And that's the way, and they actually went upstairs. I'll have to talk to them and find out how that went.
I mean, the way that I've seen seniority lists go is that you do the list by seniority so that the top guy is on the list. But then it rotates, I mean, so it comes down the
That's not
list and then.
seniority. That's called a rotating
Well,
rate. Okay. It kicks off,
first time.
you gotta kick off
yeah,
somehow.
first time, well, it is, yeah, the first time, I guess,
Okay, but, I mean, I like to use the phrases top-down or rotating.
yeah.
And you can't say it's a rotating seniority list, that's like,
I mean, to
that's like
me,
jumbo shrimp, to not see more.
well, yeah, but then to me, it's like, okay, so every time I call the top guy, he's gonna say, no, ask this guy, and he's gonna say, no, ask this guy, and then where am I then from a standpoint of, okay, now every time I
You can
call, I
ask
gotta
the
make 4
top person,
calls.
say, listen, I've asked you 3 or 4 times, you decline every single time, would you be interested in just signing, don't bother me, and it's, we do this everywhere, in so many different places. We have a list of not interested in overtime, people, it doesn't have to be,
That's how we do it.
sentence.
So
you
every
can do that
time the
training.
senior guy gets
By the
offered.
Yeah.
month, we make a sheet,
Okay,
and do you want to be called in at 4 in the morning on your day off, you want overtime? Just sign it, yes or no for the month. If you
Right.
don't, we're skipping you.
and so, but it always goes by seniority, so, but then you go down the list.
Yeah, we do, and then,
Okay, so
see,
that's
the way it
rotating.
works over here is, all these people that have these days off,
Yeah,
they're available to cover,
right,
and it's seniority order.
but you said that then the second time, the next guy gets called.
Depending what day it is. See, we don't have enough drivers to cover every shift,
Right,
and the way it works is, when this driver is off, say on a Monday, he can cover that if somebody calls off on a Monday, and we use
Right.
that list.
yeah,
And if he does that, the next time that there's that same opportunity, he's offered it again, or the next person, or the
No.
next senior person gets it.
Half of them are AM drivers and half are PM drivers. If the driver that works in if there's a space open in the AM, you call one of the AM drivers. If somebody's off in the afternoon, you use the off-duty PM driver. It doesn't make a
yeah,
difference
so,
where
It's
they're
not-
at.
it's
Well,
not your
no.
question is top-down, it's just that there's so much.
yeah, there's so much left to right, you
Yeah.
can't
No,
track
what,
it.
what there's so much of is that there's so many different shifts. It's
Yeah,
a
that's what I mean.
24 hour,
Yeah.
24 hour.
It's not
difference.
24
I was gonna say,
hours.
Every Monday, it's safe to assume that Ed Nadolski is gonna be called and offered an overtime assignment, prior to the people beneath him, on every Monday, because that's his day off, top down.
But they'll reject it too. But that's the pool that we have to work with. That's all we have.
So if you've rejected it,
It'll go to the next guy on the list.
okay, well, that's the wheel, and so,
But I mean, it's the next,
Not a
No,
wheel,
it's
it's
saying
not-
it's-
it's the senior
It's
person.
seniority.
Saying that every
Why,
single
why do you think
time.
that's a wheel?
because if the senior person doesn't take it, he's not offered it again until the next person on the list
No.
is offered it.
No, that's not what he said. He said if you offer Ed the job and Ed says no, it goes to the next guy on the list. Joe, you wanna work? No, I don't.
And then
Okay,
next-
Lori, you wanna work? No, I don't. David, yeah, I'll take it. So the
And
next
if
time.
nobody works, then the lead driver has to go out and cover that route.
All right,
So the point is that
But-
this is already in place.
Yeah,
yeah, this is kind
It's
of.
But
been in
that's-
place for years.
Been in place forever, 18 years.
yeah, it just creates, I mean, I can see a situation where it creates you know, literally where it's 4 or 5 phone calls before you get somebody, where if you have a rotating list, it's like, you're on call, you don't have a choice.
How
You're
often
coming
is
in.
it even over?
So why do we need contract language? It's the past practice, it's been working, you don't have an issue with it.
Because there's about 8 other departments that doesn't operate that way.
It works
That's why.
here.
So for your
But
department,
we
we
already have.
don't need language.
We do have past practice language in our contract
We
that
do, right.
protects us.
That's exactly right.
Correct, correct. But we also have an issue coming up where, in Frank's world, where it's being changed. And so we're probably gonna get rid of
The
some
other
of that.
thing is,
But
Randy,
the answer,
What's being.
I do the calls.
The way that operators
No, I
keep
mean,
their
I'm
shifts for
with
what
the
plants they want to go
supervisor when I
to,
do
there was a
coverage.
way that it always done.
Unless
It
it's an
was the
emergency,
senior A or
you
B
pull anybody
operators
off
before the Cs.
First one they
And
get.
I guess I was notified the other day by some of the senior operators that now they're gonna start trying to stick some of the Cs and Bs with less time with some of these plants, so that means your senior A and B operators may be kicked out of their shift at a particular plant that they
So
want.
we have a separate
And the way
list
the
for that.
past practice was always
Not
done,
to call.
your A and B operators got first dibs on whatever plant they wanted to go to, because obviously they had the time and the license, and that's fixing to change, so.
Is that because they need the A's
Uh,
and B's,
no, I
more
don't know.
scattered because of the.
The only way it was explained to me was, is that it was just the person that's in charge decided he wanted to change it up and have Cs at the plant, but most municipalities, you know, they're gonna want As and Bs as much as they can before any of the Cs, and then what's left over, because you're the new guy on the pole or gal on the pole, you're gonna go with what's left, and he's wanting to say, no, I'm gonna put them here, and I'm gonna put them there, and some of your senior As and Bs are kind of upset about it.
Are there, is it because there are like 2 A's at a plant, or?
Yeah, there have been times where there's been 2 As.
And not one at another plant, I guess, if you like.
No, I think they've got enough
So
where
we
they can
have
always have
coverage.
A's at plants. Sometimes you might have 2 A's, you might have an A and a B, I guess is the way it would normally be. And now that we're being told that, well, no, I've decided I might put an A, you might put a B, you might put a C, or I might put an A and a C. And you're gonna have C operators that might be here for just a couple of years, bumping a
Yeah.
10, 18-year-old,
I know-
18-year B or A operator out of a slot.
Yeah, I know, isn't it a capacity issue, once a plant reaches a certain capacity, you have to have like the B and then an A or something like that?
They have, yeah, they were required by, I think,
Yeah.
so many A's and so many B's.
Right,
but-
I didn't know if that happened to be an issue, like a plant reached a
The way they're
capacity
explaining
because
to me,
out
it
east
isn't
or
that,
something.
because
Okay.
I'm just telling you what the operator will be telling me, and
Yeah.
they're feeling like they're fixing to be done wrong, so I'm sure you'll be getting some grievances very shortly about it.
and I can't stress how important this is. I mean, really, it's just, we have to get some movement on this, in order to get this committee to endorse the contract. And if this committee doesn't endorse the contract, it's pretty fair to expect you're gonna have an overwhelming, rejection of it, and just, and we've proven that point before. So, we just asked you that, it shouldn't be that big of a deal for some reason. It has just been such a big deal in this county.
If you could, like I said, in the meantime, I mean, I still need to talk to the departments about it, there's nothing, you know, there's no way around that, so perhaps if I could know where, to start, you know, clearly, okay, we've just covered, busing is fine, transportation is fine, because you already have a seniority, and you have past practice, so NA. But let's talk about the ones where it's a problem, so I can start there, because if we can get them, then maybe it becomes a non-issue, if some of them will say, yeah, we don't want.
Fleet.
Fleet, okay.
Utility.
So I was gonna ask you.
We have no seniority.
Okay, so what
For
happens
anything.
then? Okay, so what, and in fleet, obviously, you probably have like mechanic 1s and 2s, and then you got a guy for the
Right,
fire
yeah.
truck or something like that, or?
Yeah, like, I work on heavy equipment, where I'll
Yep.
call somebody else, and I work on, fire trucks, ambulances, and
Right, and that guy
other
has a
guys work
special-
on buses
right.
and stuff.
Correct.
But any other shop that I've ever seen,
Mhm.
the low guy on the totem pole always does the change, because it helps you
Yep.
learn. And if you take a guy that's trying to learn and he's trying to learn repairs, sometimes he doesn't get them right and they come back.
Okay,
So you want that guy doing oil changes so he can learn as he grows.
right,
And somebody like me who's been around for a long time should be doing the majority of the repairs because it's major work, a lot of work.
okay,
And somebody like him who's learning shouldn't be, because then you just, you know, it's costing the county more money.
okay,
Because they keep coming back and have to be repaired.
right.
And
So what's happening, I mean, well, give me an example of, I mean, is it just a, that's not a shift and it's not an
It's
overtime,
just
that
a-
sounds like just
It's a work
work assignment?
assignment.
Yeah, work assignment.
So you're saying that,
Job assignments with.
Yeah.
because I would be hard pressed to tell the department, only if a guy has this many years of experience can he not, I mean, that's, I
No,
mean,
what
that
you-
would be,
what you
so
say-
we have to have a middle ground.
This is the way, this is the way it's typically carried out, is that if you're in a situation, which I believe fleet is like, where there are multiple job assignments, and everybody shows up at the same time, and it's not like that everywhere,
Right,
but the job assignments are put out. Okay, let's go first, you pick this one, you pick this one, and you come up to the window,
is that how it happens
that
there?
one. And that's-
The-
I mean, I'm asking, so
Well,
like, there might be
generally-
10 cars sitting there and you
Yeah,
just pick one?
generally, you know, I get the heavy equipment, somebody else.
Right.
And you do the oil changes and everything for
Right,
everything.
yes, absolutely, those are
But-
specialties, yeah.
But the low guy should be doing all of the oil changes.
But how
So
is he
that they
gonna
are.
learn to do anything else? Well, yeah, okay, so you make a good point, so if he's only doing oil changes, how does he then learn to do
Because he
repairs
does
that you're good
other
at?
little things, like he does, light bulbs, and he can watch other guys too, while they're doing
Right.
bigger jobs. And then you learn by watching people too.
Right, but if he's doing the oil changes, obviously he won't be getting, so I mean, there has to be.
Oil change is not an all-day, everyday job, right? Isn't it?
Well,
Well,
it could be, it
With
could
many
be if
vehicles that we
he's
have,
doing all the
cameras.
oil changes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I was
You see
doing
what
when
I'm
I
saying?
started
There's-
out, I was
So there's a
doing
training
all oil
component,
changes.
and then there's, there's the practical, you're not gonna solve all the world's problems by saying, okay, the little guy gets all the oil changes because, boom, because then all of a sudden we have nobody that knows how to
And
fix
this
the cars.
discussion all the more supports, you know, the concept of the proposal,
Yeah,
that we need to sit down in
Right.
fleet and have a discussion and work this stuff out.
Right.
Just that fleet.
what works, yeah, because I don't know enough about fleet to be able to say,
But
oh,
again,
this is gonna work for
the
you.
simple, because we've already been down that road a couple of years ago, where the former HR director said, well, I checked with all the department directors and they said they're just not interested. Gee, that's a surprise, you know, and so, you know, again, it's gonna take a commitment from both parties here to try and meet the need that the union has been requesting of this committee. And it's not Local 79, it doesn't affect me, I don't work here, but these members want some changes, and we believe your morale is gonna go up. We believe that the cooperation is, you know, from the employees, and morale's a huge thing, because morale translates into dollars, you know, when you have a bunch of disgruntled employees who are not happy and, you know, and could care less if they're here or later, or they start looking for another place to work, because I come to Pasco and I'm treated like crap every day. I've been here for 5-6 years, I come into work one day and I find out I've been taken off my job assignment for a guy who's been here for 2-3 months, and then I find out afterwards he's all buddy-buddy with the supervisor, and I know I sound like a broken record because it happens over and over and over again.
I would say in the 11 and a half years I've been in library,